Moving abroad is not for the faint of heart. Sis, you know in your heart that you want to move abroad, but what steps will you take? What steps can you take today to actually make your dream happen? Hey girl, hey, welcome to my channel. This is the community where we uplift, motivate, and inspire Black women who want to solo travel and Black women who want to move abroad. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe bell. That way you don't miss any of our content here. Let's get it started, y'all. Again, we know that moving abroad is not for the faint of heart. It can be a challenge, right? Some people may even think you are crazy for wanting to leave the US or wherever your home country is to go somewhere else. What 3 steps can you take today? Today, not tomorrow, but today to make that step happen. So at 48, I moved from Atlanta to Paris. I've been here for more than 1 year. I am familiar with the move abroad process. The process to move here to France isn't always easy. I realize that Black women want to move everywhere. The world is big. The world is vast. It doesn't matter where you want to move. Let's help you get there. So the things you must do, I want to break it down to a couple of simple steps. I think that overall, the move abroad process can be very complicated. But if you get these 3 things, if you start these 3 things today, you will be further ahead, okay? Number 1, you have to identify the country or regions that you want to move to. Look, sis, I get it. As Black women in America, a lot of times we're just like, look, I need to dip, get me up out of this country. We don't care where, but I want you to pull back a little bit, okay? I want you to think carefully about where it is that you want to move. I get the reaction though. I overstand it. Our experiences in racism and America can have us just like, I just got to get up out of here. We don't care where it is. We just got to go. But I need you to pull back a little bit, figure out what countries, or regions you are interested in. You have to have a place. Until you have a place or areas identified where you want to move, you're just talking. So where is it? Is it Southeast Asia? Is it Mexico? Is it Western Europe? Is it Eastern Europe? Is it Africa? Where exactly are you planning to move abroad? We have to start there. That's point number 1. We have to identify where in this vast world we want to go. You know what makes you happy. Please don't leave this decision up to anybody else. Nobody else, your mama, your cousin, Ray, Pookie, all of them, they are not going to live in your new country. So please make this decision with yourself and your needs in mind. And it just depends. Listen, me personally, I would love to maybe dip over to Africa, to South Africa. I would love to dip over to maybe Southeast Asia. But those countries, for me personally, I need to be somewhere with relative close access to the US. I don't want to be on a flight for a day or 2 or a day and a half, okay? I don't want to have to deal with all that. So for me, I looked at it as saying, where can I move that'll give me a flight that is less than 8 to 10 hours away? Okay, so that is going to narrow my options. You may decide somewhere else. You may decide you want to be really, really close to the US, maybe no more than within 4 hours of traveling time. So if you say that, then depending upon where you are in the US, right, that brings a couple of countries into mind. Mexico, maybe Colombia, Costa Rica, Panama. There are a number of places. Jamaica, maybe it's the Caribbean, a Caribbean country. There are a number of places that you can go that are not far from the U.S. Let's say you've got younger children. Let's say you've got aging parents. Let's say you've got family members that you need to constantly check on. But I do need you to identify the region. It's going to be critically important, identifying the region or areas that you may want to move. Do you want to bop around? Do you want to live there with a visa? Again, you've got to know the country where you want to go. Number two, sis, you need to do some research today. Do your research. This is going to be key. This was one of the hardest parts for me. Like my point number one, I knew I wanted to go to France. I knew where I wanted to go, but the research part is the part that has a lot of us in a whole entire chokehold, okay? You are going to have to put the time in. You are going to have to do the research to figure out what the requirements are. If you're going to be there more than 90 days, our U.S. passports give us up to 90 days in most places. So if you're going to be there past that, how long can you be there? Do you need a visa, right? What are the income requirements for you to move there? Most of these countries have income requirements. They have perhaps some financial requirements. You need to have maybe some savings. You may need to have a place to live. Remember, immigration is a money game. I will link to my previous immigration video in the description box, but just remember, no matter where it is that you are looking to immigrate, remember, you are a foreigner. We are foreigners in another country. We can make the word fancy and say we're expats. We can say we're immigrants or whatever. But just remember, when you're moving to these other countries, they're going to have requirements for you to be there. It may be income requirements. You may have to have a certain amount in savings. Immigration, again, it is a money game. What they do not want you to do as an American is come to their country and take their resources away from their people. So they're going to want to make sure that you are adding to their economy and not taking away from it. Most of the time, that is going to mean that you've got to make a certain amount of income. You've got to have a certain amount of savings. You've got to have health insurance. You've got to have a place to stay. Trust me, they've thought of it all. So make sure you understand those requirements. Make sure you also understand the different visas that they offer and the requirements. Now, many countries are offering more digital nomad visas. You've got South Africa just launched their digital nomad program. You've got countries like Portugal, which are developing, tech hubs for digital nomads. You've got places like France. They're dealing with a brain drain of people. People in France are leaving France for other countries. So they are trying to prop up the tech business. If you are a tech investor, there may be incentives involved. There are so many places that have so many different rules and requirements. You are going to have to do your research to know these places in and out. Some places may, as a result of your research, you may decide that one place is not good for you. You may decide that, this is no longer an option. And keep in mind, these requirements are changing yearly. France is undergoing some changes to its visa processes. They are highly coveting tech folks, again, because of the brain drain, right? At the same time, they are cutting millions from their budget. They want a certain quote unquote professional income caliber, because remember, these countries, a lot of these places have a heavy socialist aspect. They do not want you and me as Americans to come over and take anything from their residents. They're looking at us to add to their economy. They're looking for us to put some money in the bank. They're looking for us to put some local currency in the bank, okay? They're looking for us to buy groceries, to rent, to add to their economy. You have got to do your research and stay on top of things, because these visa requirements are changing. Look at places like Portugal. Years ago, during the pandemic, we had thousands of Americans and UK citizens and people from all over Europe who moved to Portugal. Well, Portugal is pulling back, okay? They've made some changes to their D1, to their visa program, and it is now not as easy as it used to be. They're dealing with gentrification, or basically people from other countries are coming in and raising the rent prices. So people who live in areas like Lisbon are now not able to afford to live there. So keep in mind, you will have to continue to do your research. You'll have to stay on top of it. Sometimes these countries do not make finding this information out very easy. There is not like one place to go. I highly recommend, if you can, to hire an attorney. They are paid to know the ins and outs of the system. There are still some questions they may not be able to answer, but you are either going to have to hire an attorney, or you are going to have to really, really be on it to know these income requirements, these visa requirements, if a visa is what you are searching for. So you're going to have to, number one, identify the country. Number two, do your research. Now to point number three, you are going to have to figure out the online income piece. Figure out the income piece. How are you going to make money in your new country? And that goes back to point number two about your research. So these countries, again, they want you to be able to make money and be able to afford it when you do relocate or when you do move. So you are going to have to figure out, how will you make money in your new country? Will it be a pension? Will you be working? Will you be, I don't know what you're going to do. Are you going to be an au pair? Are you going to teach English? Are you going to have some kind of military, retire, or income pension? Retired income? Are you a retiree? How are you going to live in your new country? How are you going to pay for your food, your rent, and everything else? Because many times you're going to find in these countries that your pay level is going to be so incredibly low. Like, I would never suggest that you go from what you're making in the US to Mexico. It's not possible, right? You are not going to be paid the same. The same with me in France. My salary here is anywhere from 50 to 70% lower than I would make in the US. Many countries, it is the same way. You'll find there are some countries that will pay very well, but the downside may be that the expenses are really expensive. I can think about Singapore as a great example. It's expensive to live in Singapore. Sure, you can make great money there, but it is expensive to live there. So make sure you do make sure the online income piece is figured out. You know how you're going to make money. Do you have an online business? What do you have in your hand that you can make money with that is not dependent upon your location, and that you can prove, right? That you can prove that you can make, that you over exceed the requirements. That's going to be key. Remote income, online income, your income, whatever your income is, it is going to be very, very important. It will make the difference between you staying in the country and you not staying in the country. Those of you who have followed my journey here, you know that I'm in the middle of a career. I'm in the middle of a transition. And so I'm now consulting. And so again, there is that pressure of having to make a certain amount of income to be able to stay in the country. These folks know, these countries know that, they want you to be financially stable. It is indeed an impediment if you are in another country and not able to make a certain amount of income. For me, my visa does not allow me to work for a French employer. So it's key that you do your research going in, that you know the online income requirements, that you think about this, right? That you meet these requirements, or you are not getting that visa. Okay, so it's key that you do your research. You think heavily and think strongly about how you're going to make money in your new country. Does that involve maybe you'll get a visa where you can work for a local employer? It just depends. Maybe you'll get have a business type of visa. That's a possibility here in France. Maybe you will figure out, maybe you will keep your US job, okay, and just do your US job in your new country. Things are really going to depend, so make sure you think heavily about the online income piece. But that's it. Those are a few of the things that you can do today, sis, to get you finally on the move abroad journey. It is not as difficult as we make it out to be. Sure, there are steps that are going to require some research, but I promise you, if you do these three things, number one, figure out the country or regions you want to move to. Number two, do your research about the areas you want to move to. Number three, figure out the income piece. That will put you further on the path of finally moving abroad. It will be something to where you're no longer just talking about it. This is a real dream. This is a dream come true. You will finally be on the path to being in the country of your dreams. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How did you handle moving abroad, sis? Have you moved abroad? Where are you in your process? Let me know in the comments below. If you've reached the end of this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you have subscribed, please share this video with a Black woman expat you know, a Black woman solo traveler, or a Black woman who wants to move abroad. That is one of the best ways to help me as a Black woman YouTube creator. Until the next video, I will talk to you later.